right. Well, welcome back to Chris Frank Games. It's Friday afternoon. The
Not the usual time, but
the
close to.
wires came in. The deposits came in. The payments went out. Everything cleared. Now it's time to sit back, have a drink, relax, and talk about some video games.
Yay for video games.
You deserved it. You deserve it. So my name is Chris Stotts, and joined by the guy with his name on the show, Frank White. Frank, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. Yeah. Otherwise, it would just be the Chris show. Who
Yeah,
wants that?
it'd just be Chris Games. We got enough
Yeah.
Chris. I got enough Chris
It
Games.
doesn't even make sense grammatically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, this is what's going to happen. We're going to do a brief touchdown on the news. Nothing. The only thing that's really game news. I'm sorry. The only thing that's really going on is just games are pretty much just coming out. We got a couple interesting news stories. We're gonna talk about the games we've been playing, and that's it. We won't take up too much of your time. So there you
No, it's not chaos these days. Just a release date chaos.
go. Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, so why don't we start off with the news right off, and we are on the eve of Red Dead Redemption 2. Uh,
Red Dead Eve.
yeah, Red Dead Eve. I guess it comes out next week, right?
Yeah, it's like the 26th or something next Tuesday. Hopefully, hopefully it comes out for you and your family and friends and everyone who wants it.
Yeah,
We'll
well,
see for those of us who are going to mom and pop stores.
yeah. Well, we will get to that, but the promotion is leading up to it, and everyone's doing interviews and all this stuff. And one of the Housers, I guess, right, did this interview where he was basically bragging about how this is their biggest game, and they had all these people working, and he said we've had people working hundreds of hours a week polishing and finishing up this game, and he was saying it as he was bragging about it, and of course that set off a lot of alarm bells
Read the room, dude.
for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
That may sound good to like Joe Schmo, who's just picking up a newspaper and wants to play Cowboys and Indians, but yeah, for the rest of the game industry, yeah, not so good. And of course, it set off a Twitter chain, I suppose, about people talking about how they've been abused as developers and whatnot. And
Yeah, lots of fun facts like that. Like people on average leave the industry after like 3 years. Like in their late 20s, they're done with video games.
yeah,
So I don't know if they're going on to IT or what you do after you burn out on video games.
yeah, just plenty of horror stories, of course. And my thoughts are, I think. Yeah, people definitely are probably asked to work too much, but on the other hand, I think there's also like again a crunch kind of culture. I think about programmers, developers, and all these people. So I think that it's kind of part of the kind of career choice. I think, but obviously some people are taking abuse of. But and then they kind of reissued a statement saying, well, I don't even know what the statement was, but basically saying he wasn't. We have really good conditions, and I think he was saying more. This is management. And these are people who choose to work hundreds of hours a week.
Yes, yes. Everyone who chooses.
Yeah, everyone's free to choose if you want to work 100 hours a week, I'm sure. And I'm sure those people get promotions, right? Who don't work
Yeah.
hundreds
You're
of hours a
free
week.
to choose to not give a job at Rockstar.
Yeah. Well, it's like you can have a life, but not get promoted or ruin your life and work on Red Dead Redemption 2 DLC pack number 16. Go ahead, make your choice.
It's zombies again.
Yeah. But then, okay, and then and then there's more. I guess Rockstar developers and programmers and people who actually work there. I don't know what did they. I didn't really read too much into this, but what did they say? It was pretty much good conditions and they love their jobs and etc. Is that the
I'm
gist
sure
of
they
it?
I'm sure they have the free, cafeteria. Got the sushi chef on staff make up for the fact that you're never going to see your family again.
Yeah. I don't even know like what the tweets are. So maybe there were actually some even ones and some negative ones, but who knows? But also, I don't think it's fair, for a huge developer like to compare like Rockstar, because these guys obviously they have the number one game all the time, GTA 5, and this is gonna be a huge hit. I mean, they're making tons of money. So maybe they don't need some crazy crunch where a company who only has a couple of employees and needs to pay the bills, that's those are the ones that suffer, right?
If you're making money hand over fists, why can't you just hire more people or at least pay them overtime?
Yeah.
The overtime payments that's a real good way to stop the crunch, just to have mandatory overtime laws, because then they're like, we don't want to pay you more money more than we want you to work an extra 40%. So
Yeah.
that's the solution right there, staring everybody in the face.
Money's the solution, pretty much. So, all right. So, and then of course, I mean, Frank, do you have any qualms buying Red Dead Redemption 2? Because people probably ruin their career, families over this game.
I don't know. I'm assuming like any big game, you're just buying suffering, suffering.
That's modern day capitalism. I mean, but anything.
But as Sonic the Hedgehog says, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. So you're buying a soap, buying a video game. It's just exploitation all the way down. So unless you're gonna live like a monk,
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you can say, "Oh, I'm not gonna do this," but what about that other thing in your house? What about the TV? What about even a PlayStation that's made in China? I mean, the chemicals are being poured into the lakes and the rivers and all that stuff, so we can have a cheap ass entertainment system that pushes polygons. So it's just a rabbit hole.
Metals.
But again, I think that probably the people that work at Rockstar are treated fairly better probably than the vast majority of people that work in video games. So, all right. Okay. Not that I know anything.
Certainly management does, because they're rich as all hell.
Yeah. Well, not unless you take a 6-month trip sabbatical to Brazil, or no, that was that guy's name, right? Brazil or something. Yeah. We're acting like we know about this stuff. All right. And then, all right. And then here's another. When it rains, it pours. Frank in the Old West, even though it's always dusty all the time. There's a story. I think this was on Kotaku about mom and pop video game stores, like GameStop, right, Frank? They're mom and pop ones. They're on the corner of everything.
Like everyone but the big box stores seems to be complaining.
Yeah, mom and pop stores are basically that they're not going to get copies of Red Dead Redemption 2 until like November 7th or something like that, maybe even after Election Day, but like a week late than like the
well, we want to
release.
Make sure that the election is done, that we've gone through the midterms before we release Red Dead Redemption 2 in the environment, because clearly that will sway the election. Well, it's like the FBI not releasing results to...
Maybe Rockstar knows that Russia's going to cut the electricity on the country on election day, so they figure no one will be able to download it from the internet. They got to go to mom and pop stores to buy it, right? So
yeah.
So yes, what they're being told is that they don't want anyone to break the street date. There's a couple of theories going around.
That's a possibility, though. It's like,
why wait a week?
Yeah, why the week? Yeah. And the other theory that's floating around is that it's because it's 2 discs. Then they, that they're having manufacturing problems because the game is so big it has to ship on 2 Blu-rays, which is more plausible. But my theory is that they just don't want to overproduce the physical copies, since that costs a lot of money, and they know lots of people are going to be downloading it. So I think they're just playing their manufacturing costs like close to the chest and like, all right, let's just make enough for the big box stores, and like we'll see how the physical demand is before we ramp up production.
Yeah,
That's my
possible.
theory.
That's possible. I do think it is because of the 2 discs. Because first of all, it's going to cut your supply in half, right? Because you're making 2 discs instead of one. And then also,
Oh,
I think they're expecting this to be like a huge blockbuster in the store game, and I think they want every single copy they can have in Best Buy and Target. I don't think they want to sell out. I'm sorry, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't think they want to sell out, and there just aren't enough copies, and they're just not. They're mom and pop get elbowed off the dinner table, unfortunately this time. So that's my theory. But I mean, again, that makes the most sense to me. But I mean, it's probably a combination of like every one of those two. As well.
Space aliens. I'm not saying it was aliens.
Yeah. So, but Frank, did you pre-order yours on PS Store, or how did you get your copy? What have you done?
I actually reserved one at a mom and pop shop.
So, all right, here we go.
So they're supposed to call me, and
do they know yet, or what?
They haven't emailed me to say, hey, we're gonna be late or anything.
Have you? I mean, would they do that? Have you actually inquired this yourself, or are you afraid to to ask, or what?
Well, I just like pre-ordered it just like the day before this news broke, so I haven't been back there.
All right. Well, if you want to hear about Red Dead Redemption 2, you might have to wait a week because Frank has morals. Frank has morals about this subject, but not about the other thing. But at least mom and pop are getting money, though, I guess, right?
They're not working 100 hours. They have, they actually like close in the evening.
Yeah. But Frank, I mean, you've worked 100 hours in a week, right, to finish a project? I mean, that's crunch for you, right? I'm assuming. Maybe when you were younger.
I mean, I've never really calculated. I've had like an all-nighters before.
Yeah, I mean that's just part of life, right? Suck it up.
It's just though. I don't know. It's like, I can't.
But you would
when was
never.
The last time I stayed up all night, it was a couple of years ago. So it's like in my 30s, and it like once you cross like 30, it hurts like hell.
Yeah. Well, you would never do it now. I mean,
yeah.
because you're a grown ass man, you got kids and stuff like that. So yeah. All right. All right.
It's not fun even in your 20s.
Yeah. So. Yeah. If I don't get enough sleep, like it's worse than being hungover for the most part. All right. Well, here's a delightful story. Luigi's Mansion, the GameCube game. Did you have this game, Frank?
I did not. I never actually played it.
I never got it either. But Luigi's Mansion from the GameCube, of course, is being remade for the 3DS. And John Lanneman of DF Retro of Digital Foundry did a comparison between that game and the 3DS game and the GameCube game, and it's a nice little, interesting, fun little romp kind of through the game and some interesting things. And it seems like they kind of updated the engine and whatever. It's like a new engine, actually, I guess. That's what he's saying. So, And what was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways,
just vacuum up some ghosts.
Yeah. So you should check it out. It's a pretty interesting video. All right. Okay. And then, and by the way, this is what I was going to say. I saw this video on YouTube where they must have taken some, like, it must have been like a pirated 3DS game or whatever, or like the ROM or whatever, and they basically, like, made it HD, like 4K or whatever, and it looked really, really good. And it's kind of shocking, like, how good the games look. Like, they took Zelda, and I think they took, like, Mario or something like that. And I think it was Zelda, actually. But, like, it was shockingly, like, how good the polygons were and, like, how much the geometry was and everything like that. It's just that shitty screen, which is, like, 248 or something like that. That really crappy screen. So, I think they're going to, like, update all of these games eventually, like, in 4K or at least in HD. I think it would be pretty awesome. So, all right. And then, okay, so Luigi's Mansion. There you go. Okay. All right. And then speaking of Nintendo news, The Room was announced. They showed a trailer of it. The Room is
tearing me apart, Lisa.
I don't think it's that one. It's not the movie, but it's the puzzle game from iOS, the iOS platform. And this is probably one of my favorite games for iOS. I'm not a big iOS gamer, but basically this is a game where you have these puzzle boxes. and you basically like can spin it around with your hand, and you find like little inaccuracies, not inaccuracies, but like things that don't match up, and you're basically just solving puzzles and all this stuff, and it's a really fun game. So it's coming off. It's actually out for the Switch now. It's $9.99. There's like 3 or 4 of these actually, so it'd be really cool to actually have all 3 of them or all 4 of them together. But I think it's actually kind of smart because you can like sell them each a piece for like $10. And then you can actually use the touchscreen for the Switch, or if you want to play it on the TV, you can use your Joy-Con and use it like a laser pointer. So that's pretty cool. I actually might want to try that. It's actually 10% off. It's $8.99 right now. So I might. I'll wait for like $4.99, and then I might pull the trigger right there. Sorry, buddy. I already gave you a bunch of money on iOS, so screw you.
You get back down to those iOS prices.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's crazy. I mean, iOS they're only $5, and Switch you get that $10 premium, I guess. So, all right. Well, hey, Nintendo has to get their cut, I guess, right? All right, Frank. Do you have any news for us?
Yes,
this week?
I do. In fact, I have big, exciting news. Drum roll. Dun, 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 dun. So remember how they remastered Night Trap?
Yes.
Well, they're doing it again to Double Switch. So we're gonna get a HD remaster of Double Switch from the Sega CD, with the same kind of bells and whistles and physical copy by Limited Run Games, and so everyone can enjoy seeing Corey Haim and Arlie Ermy and Debbie Harry in the HD glory.
So,
well, hitting the trap buttons.
So this is a Sega CD game, huh?
Yeah.
Because I never heard of this game before. I don't think I've ever seen this before. I mean, have you played this? Or
I have not, but I'm aware of it by reputation.
Is this the same like Tom Zito or whatever that filmed Night Trap, or is this a whole different game company? Do you know?
I don't think so. I'm assuming it's a whole different thing. But though it's it's a very similar game in that you're still trapping people with traps, only different contexts and different washed up 80s sitcom actors.
Yeah.
I guess he wasn't in sitcoms. Corey Haim was in a lot of stuff. He was the Lost Boy.
Yeah. All right, so you're all excited about these FMV games getting remade, huh?
It's I don't know. I am ironically really enthusiastic, and I'll probably get the physical copy again. I have like a collection. They can go next to some VHS tapes.
By the way, Resident Evil, I saw Wario64 tweeted out. I think Resident Evil 7 is like $20 right now, or something like that. Did you see that?
Well, I already have it. So
yeah, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to you. I don't know. I might, if it even hurts more, I might get it. But I want to play with the PSVR, so that's a problem. All right, so what? How much is that game? Double Switch? Did you pre-order it already?
Announced it, so
okay.
I think it's going to be another. It's probably not going to be as popular as Night Trap because it doesn't have all that cultural baggage. But presumably, Limited Run Games is going to have another, sit by your phone so you can order it before they all sell out kind of scenarios.
Oh yeah. Dang. All right. Well, there you go. FMV. When is Scottie Pippen's Windy City Jam coming out from Limited?
I have no idea.
All right.
It's all down to getting the rights to these things for the most part.
Yep. All right. Anything else?
No. Why would you even need anything else?
FMV update. All right. Sounds good. I'll tell you what. Let's take a break, and we will be right back with the games we've been playing.
The curtains come down.
Yeah, let's pause this. All right. All right, I'm good. You good?
Yeah, no, I'm.
All right. I don't have too much to say, so we can get this done quick. All right, we are back, and I don't know. I've been pretty busy, so I haven't played too much. Just been dabbling a little more with Arena Valor, the MOBA on Switch, and just getting a little bit deeper into it, and just kind of realizing You get these powers, and it's just really about the combination of using these powers kind of together. That's how you kind of get victory, and you get kind of one big physical. I'm sorry, you get one melee attack. That's your basic attack. You have kind of one kind of big melee attack or distance attack, and then you have some sort of like absorb attack where you can like slow people down, either get like a shield or HP or whatever like that, and then you kind of get this ultimate thing. So you want to like kind of hit people, slow them down, and get them with the ultimate, and just kind of do different combinations like that, and blah blah blah. It's just more MOBA stuff. When people say it's like a lot of strategy, it really is. It really is. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Let's just say it. I'm not gonna bore anyone with all this stuff, but it's pretty deep because as you kind of figure it out, there's like layers and layers and layers and stuff like that. So just for example, like the towers. So your minions go after the towers, and if you go after the towers, there's kind of like this laser beam that comes out at you and hurts you and actually gives you quite a bit of damage. But if your minions are attacking the towers within the range, it attacks those minions first. And then you can go to the towers and start wailing on it and beat up the towers. However, if you attack a enemy player within that range, the tower will then start automatically attacking you. So just even the stupid tower, there's like definitely like ways to play it and all this different stuff. So it's there you go. There's a glimpse. There's a glimpse of the MOBA world right there. All right, that's all I got. All right, Frank, what do you got for us this week?
I'm continuing on with Hollow Knight. Not 100% sure how many hours I put into it because I accidentally left it running one day.
Oh, yeah.
So the timer is at 30, but so I don't know how accurate that is. It's a little bit inflated, but I've been playing it as pretty much exclusively recently. So nearing the end, got like the 3 kind of bosses that unlock the final boss all down, and I can finally say that the game isn't perfect because it has actually kind of annoyed me lately. Now that I'm at the end, it's kind of like a boss rush practically. Like there's a lot less exploration, a lot more kind of boss after boss after boss, and I discovered that a lot of these bosses are optional. Like not actually necessary to complete the game, but the game doesn't tell you these things because it's Hollow Knight and it doesn't tell you anything. So I was really beating my head against like a brick wall of a boss that has a second form. You kill this boss, you get the item, and then you can fight the boss again in like a dream zone. And the game uses these zones to kind of acknowledge that the difficulty is bullcrap because you don't actually die when you're fighting a dream boss when you lose all your health. You just get kicked back out of the dream, which is really convenient because then like certain charm items you have in the game will break upon death and you have to like go find the guy to repair it. So they're like really useful items that you don't want to have like all the time because it's a whole quest to go get it repaired if you die wearing it. But that doesn't happen during these dream fights because you just get kicked back out of the dream. So yeah, there's this guy called the Lost Kin, and he was just a real jackhole. He's a little guy who jumps around. He has 2 basic attacks, which is to jump on you or to like rush at you on the ground. So you have to keep your distance because you can't jump fast enough to get out of the way of the rush attack. When you're right next to him, even though it's telegraphed, if you're too close, you're pretty much screwed. And then you always have to dodge under him when he jumps because he can adjust his landing, zone pretty much on the fly while he's in midair. So if you run away, he's like guaranteed to land on you or directly in front of you. And then he'll even fake you out. The AI is frustrating because he'll do jumps up in the air and then not go anywhere to kind of get you to dodge, and then half the time you crash right into him. And he's got 1 million dang health points. You don't get a health bar, but he's tough. And the whole time there's little like ghost orange blob things. They almost look like lava. I think it's supposed to be like infection, pus or something, but they just float around in the background and hurt you. And like as the boss fight goes, they just fill more and more up. So you have to spend half the time like this really aggressive boss who can hone in on your location very quickly. There's very little time to ever heal unless he gets stunned. And the whole time the arena is just filling with these enemies that do contact damage. So it's incredibly frustrating. This was finally the part where I had to start fiddling with the different charms to like make a loadout specifically for this fight. And the thing that turned the tide was, so when you heal in Hollow Knight, you have to hold the circle button down and kind of like charge it up. And it takes a second. And there are charms you can have that will speed that up, which is one useful thing. But what really turned the tide was having a charm that made it so that when you are charging up your heal, you are releasing a cloud of damaging like spores. So basically, like you just kind of create a damage zone around you, and it doesn't do a whole lot of damage to the boss, but it will instantly kill the little contact damage add-ons. So that was like, I always feel like having a ton of add-ons, like kind of just regular enemies jumping into a boss fight is cheap difficulty.
Yeah, I hate it. It stresses me out. I don't like it.
Yeah, so I just had to find a way to counteract that specifically, because I got to a point where I had his pattern pretty much down. It was just that I would always get thrown off by these guys, or that I would spend too much time clearing them out and like just not make a whole lot of damage. And and then when I beat him, I was like, oh, this is an optional boss and he doesn't even have like a proper reward. Oops.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a little annoying, some of the late stage bosses, but I think the game's real flaw is that its whole Dark Souls style, like you lose your money if you die and you have to go fight your shadow to get it back at the location of your death, like the bloodstain kind of run system. Except I am long past the point where there's lots of stuff to buy. So I'm just walking around getting more and more money. So like the stakes get higher and higher as like I accumulate a bigger and bigger wallet that I could lose if I die twice in a row. But also I don't care, because I'm like, there's like really nothing to spend it on anymore. There's like, just a small handful of things for sale. So basically that whole mechanic, like once you're like halfway through the game, completely ceases to matter, which is a little silly. Like they need some kind of late game money sink. And I don't know, there's a little bit of filler in some areas, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that I played the early game kind of badly, and got to a boss very early on that was absolutely destroying me, and then was like, I'll come back later when I have more power-ups and stuff. And then probably spent a good like 6 hours of the game just kind of wandering across the map one way or another, like kind of chipping away at everything that I could do, and then finally remembered that boss was there. I was like, oh yeah, go back and fight that boss. And then he was gatekeeping like the downward smash move that lets you break through holes in the ground to open up new areas. So basically I played the game with like very few power-ups for so long, and then just got them all in a row, like, because that unlocked the area that quickly got me the ability to swim in the like acid pools that would otherwise kill you, and opens up a bunch of new areas. And then this culminated with the double jump. I'm like, this is a bizarre game that the double jump is one of the last things you get versus the first. And like, yeah, it seals off more areas, but also it's such a skill based move to have. It's kind of frustrating that I haven't been able to practice with the double jump for so long, because it's very useful for boss fights, but I'm like, I'm not that used to using it yet. So, but yeah, a lot of that comes down to the way I ended up playing it, because the early game you can go a lot of different ways, it seems. On the plus side, the deep nest area that people are always afraid of because you can fall in there very early, and it's dark and with tough enemies, and you don't know the way out the first time you get in there. So it's very tense for some people. Except then I found it through the back way and then already had the lantern, so I completely wrecked the difficulty there. So it's cool that it's not like a super linear kind of Super Metroid game where everything needs to be done in a specific order unless you're doing like a crazy sequence break. Uh, but it ended up with kind of a dull stretch, and then like a overwhelming stretch where I was getting all kinds of traversal based powers, like one right after another. Like so, I'm already like forgetting about stuff. Like, oh yeah, I can charge up my attack for a thing because I got that around the same time. So, but still pretty fun game. I don't know where the DLC is. If I'm like, maybe I've even played some of the DLC because getting the complete edition when it came out on PlayStation, like I'm not 100% sure where the DLCs begin and the game ends. So we'll find out about that after the fact. So like, I don't know if I should just skip right to the end now or take my time and continue exploring and seeing if I find any other big stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wait with bated breath, I guess, to find out what happens. So, all right. There you go. Hollow Knight with a K. Hollow Knight.
Right. Hollow Knight.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'm still playing. I haven't touched Axiom Verge for like a week, so I gotta go back and just like finish that. I might do that this weekend. So
yeah, before you forget like where you need to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I finally got the jump where you can like bust through like blocks and all that stuff. So I think that's the last part up. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Okay. All right. So that's it for the week. Enjoy the weekend. Get some video game time in along with your family. And by the way, I posted this earlier on Twitter, but Arena of Valor gives you these tips when it's loading up the game. And the one the other day, it said, "Is a tip. Please don't take it out on your family when you lose." I think it's pretty good advice, guys. And whether it's Arena of Valor or Hollow Knight.
What if they walked in front of you the screen while you were fighting a really difficult boss fight?
Yeah. What if they were asking for it? That's the question. No. All right. Don't take it out on your family. Take it out on some video game, some random nerd online. Take it on that. All right. So for Frank White, my name is Chris Stotts. It's been Chris Frank Games. See you guys next week.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye. All right.